Hey everybody, welcome back. Episode 10 of the podcast. Ryan is back with me today. I'm going to talk about the Phoenix Suns and their outstanding game one win behind Chris Paul's massive game. Devin Booker contributing, Ayton as well. And then hockey, some big news in hockey. The Lightning win again. And the Euro finals is going to be happening this weekend, so it should be exciting. So like I said, Suns go up 1-0 on Bucks behind our big three's performance, Ayton, Paul, and Booker. Ryan, any predictions for tonight's game? Well, we're going to talk about it more, but what's your overall prediction for tonight?
What's going on, guys? I'm back again, but once again, my prediction for this night tonight is I'm gonna go with my Bucks. I think they're gonna tie up the series. I do like the Suns, but I think Giannis got some more rest. He's gonna be able to play a little bit longer, and then I think Middleton's gonna step up again like he usually does occasionally. So we'll see. We'll go more into detail, but
Right.
that's my prediction.
Yeah, Middleton's been hit or miss for his whole career now, I think. So he needs to step up big tonight. And then I didn't talk about this last episode, I think, but the Pistons got the first pick in the draft. They won the lottery. So Cade Cunningham out of Oklahoma State, he's a 6'8" guard, like sort of that new prototype big guard, like LaMelo Ball-esque. He will probably be going to Detroit. We'll talk more about that when the time comes. And then NHL, Ryan, you want to give me your thoughts on the finals?
Yep, Lightning go back to back, and I think it was not a surprise to anyone. The Lightning were a far better team than the Canadians, and the Lightning were 18 million over cap, but it's legal. There's a loophole. I don't, the Lightning played it better. Everyone's upset that the Lightning are over cap and won, but you do what you gotta do, and they deserve to win it. So congratulations to Lightning for going back to back.
Right. Do you think if the Knights were to beat the Canadians, that series would have been much tighter?
I think it would have been Lightning in six, but I thought there was no way the Lightning didn't win once they had healthy player, like they had their full healthy roster for playoffs.
Got it. Moving on to soccer, will Lionel Messi win his first lift his first trophy with Argentina?
First international trophy possibility, and I think
It,
everyone's excited.
it's been a long time coming. He hasn't been able to do it. They're set to face Brazil, who's definitely the favorite in that game. So that's you have to keep your eye close out for that one. I mean, I really want Messi to win this, but Brazil's obviously the best team in South America, so that's going to be a really tough game for them to win. Um,
You think Messi has any chance of leading Argentina to a victory here?
I think he does. I can't see Argentina winning in regular time. It would have to be in extra time or penalties. I think Brazil's too good for that. Um, but I think everyone's rooting for Messi to win one last time
How
with
awesome would it? How awesome would it? Well, two things. How awesome would it be if Messi had like the clinching goal in extra time for Argentina to win it?
the media would go absolutely crazy.
And then
We
second thing, people are saying, and I think I agree with them, but I think Messi's the go anyways. But do you think if he gets an international trophy, it'll for sure set Messi as the goat?
I think for sure. I think if he wins the Copa against Brazil, Brazil's a much more complete team. That it would be like if the Canadians were to beat the Lightning in a way, um, whereas Argentina only has a few great players, and then Brazil, their whole roster, maybe even the second, maybe their subs are even better than the full Argentina roster. So
It's
I
great.
think yes, this pushes Messi over the bump if he's not there already.
Fair,
Um,
but moving on to the Euros, though, we had a couple games decided. Italy winning in penalty kicks, and England with a questionable penalty call in extra time. But
yeah, did you think that was a penalty?
honestly, I watched it over and over again, and the only reason I think it is a penalty is because how much control Sterling had. Like he had complete control of the ball, and then he was pushed. It was light, and he did flop a bit. But I feel like that should have been a penalty. At the end of the day, England was the better team and outplayed
Yeah.
um, Denmark, but for sure,
At the end of the day, I totally agree with you. England was outplaying them at that time. And I think if Sterling didn't get the penalty there, they were bound to score before the end of extra time, whether it was Harry Kane or Sterling. So I do think England would have won that game. Penalty, a bit controversial, but we got the final that we really wanted in Italy and England. We're going to talk about that more later. But these are, I think, along with France, the three best and most complete teams in the world right now. Um, so now, moving on to the game one takeaways, I'm sure everyone watched a little bit or all of game one. Obviously, I watched all of it, and free throw shooting was the first thing that stood out to me. Suns 96% from the line, Bucks only 56%. Giannis shot, I believe, around 50 or 55%. It was just not good enough from the Bucks, and both teams are great on defense, but to let the Suns have 26 free throws when we're not even an attacking team. I mean, we don't have anyone who really cuts and drives into the lane and is like a slasher. So for us to have 26 free throws, that's unacceptable if you're the Bucks. Then 3-point shooting, we got the Bucks shot better than us from 3-point from the 3-point line, and we still won by a lot. So how level 1 to 10, how concerned are you about that those two takeaways?
Well, I don't know. If you're the Suns and you didn't shoot well from 3 and you still won, that's pretty scary for the Bucks. And because, the Suns, they can lock in from the three-point range. Like, Booker hasn't been himself since about round 2, and once Booker gets hot, I don't think the Bucks have a chance. But, I mean, in the free throw wise, like you said, unacceptable for the Bucks, allowing way too many free points.
Yeah, exactly. And if you allow 26 free throws, you better be shooting around 20 as well and making around 20, and that obviously didn't happen. I want to talk about Jay Crowder. He's been starting at power forward for us for a while now. He only had 1 point in the last game. 0 for 8 from field goal. He did have 9 rebounds. He had the highest plus minus on either team. That tells me he is a presence everywhere on the floor, even on offense sometimes. I mean, if you go 0 for 8 and you have the highest plus minus, that really tells me something. He wants to win, our whole team wants to win, and I love what he's doing on the defensive end. And I think, or you want to talk about Lopez or Crowder?
Just to like mention something on Crowder from what I've been noticing is that he's like a big energy and big for the morality of the Suns team. Like when Crowder is, even if he's struggling, he's still there hyping up the team, getting that energy up, not letting them get down. And then of course helping defensively as much as he can. And like you said, with the positive plus minus, it's insane despite his horrible, game, at the end of the day, he didn't play great at all. He's played
Right.
much better. But, you know, still the Suns were able to win game one with poor performances from some of their stars. But, I think the Suns, they have a really good, they're in the driver's seat for sure. Like up
Yeah.
1-0, better team overall. I don't know. We'll see.
And then moving on to the Bucks situation, Brooke Lopez did play well at the beginning. 5 offensive rebounds, 3 of 5 from the 3-point line, 17 points. Didn't have a great plus minus, so they were better without him on the floor. Now Lopez, at the end of the Hawks series, really stepped up for them, and that was because Clint Capella really struggled guarding at the perimeter. And I think Aiton's much better guarding from the perimeter and even down low compared to Capella. And I don't think Brooke Lopez has had a force like Ayton before in this playoffs, and that's why I think he's struggling. I'll move on to the last thing on this slide. The Suns in this we're outstanding out of halftime. We are outstanding out of timeouts due to Monty Williams' play calling and leadership and how calm he is, in my opinion. We outscored them by 8 to start the third quarter, and that really set the tone for the whole second half. That was when CP3 started to go off, and I was really impressed with our third quarter run and all of our third quarter runs during this postseason.
Do you think Monty Williams is going to change any game plan if Giannis starts to catch heat?
I do. So I actually mentioned this on the slide. I think that Torrey Craig should be on Giannis more. I think Craig deserves more minutes on Giannis. And then what I put here is I think Monty, what he'll do if Giannis catches fire, like you just told me, he'll put Torrey Craig on Giannis. If Giannis goes to the top of the key, Booker will help off Drew Holiday because Drew Holiday is not a great shooter, as we know, from the 3-point line. And then I think if Giannis goes down low, then you have Aiden and Crowder to help out there. So I think we have it figured out. I, how do you feel about this? But I am totally fine with letting Giannis shoot jumpers.
Oh
This
yeah,
is
completely. I mean, that's Giannis's poor part of his game. Everyone knows that.
Right.
If you can really protect the paint and force them to take some mid ranges, then it's going to be harder for the Bucks to score. But then again, if they do that, then that means they're leaving the 3-point line probably relatively open for some of the other Bucks role players to step up. And that's why, like we
Yeah,
mentioned, if Middleton has a good game, like I think he will have tonight, then then the Suns will have to start playing more perimeter defense, which then opens up the paint again. So it's like this whole cycle, there's
exactly. And I mentioned it earlier, the Bucks shot well from the 3-point line last game and we still won by a lot. So
exactly.
that's my reasoning behind why I think the Suns are going to take well, they have control of the series and why they're going to really take a leap during this game and hopefully in Milwaukee as well. I'll start out with some of the news out of the Suns camp. Um, Dario Saric, ACL, he's out. That's a big blow because our only weakness in our roster is that we don't have a backup big man. And now we're going to have to see Kaminsky play at the five, who, as we know, doesn't play that often. Torrey Craig's gonna have more minutes, which I'm happy about. Then maybe we'll see our rookie. He was drafted, I think, 10th or 12th overall, Jalen Smith from Maryland. He might get a few minutes. How big of a factor do you think Saric is being out for the series?
Like you said, having not that deep depth for your big man, it's really rough. And I think maybe the Bucks take advantage of this, truly. I mean, they're gonna be the Suns are at the end of the day are they're gonna be tired. And if they can take advantage of the paint and take advantage of bullying down low, that's how the Bucks win games. And with Saric out, like helping with defending in there, and it's gonna be rough to see
Mhm.
for the Suns defensively, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I think that I think we're definitely the deepest team in the league, especially when it comes to guards and forwards. But
For
when it
sure.
comes to the big men, with Saric out, it's really just Aiton and Kaminsky there, and that poses a big issue because we're not going to play Aiton 40 minutes a game.
That's true, but Ayton might have to. He played well in game one for sure. And,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
if there's one big man in this league that can play 40 minutes a game, it's DeAndre Ayton. Because he gets fatigued, but not like the other centers like Jokic or Embiid.
no, yeah, he doesn't need to because he's also not a huge factor on offense. He's not big getting your offensive boards or
Mhm.
playing through the paint or anything. So having
Right.
him,
He's more of a screen and roll guy.
yeah, I mean, what Monty probably should do is just have Ayton worry about defense and just
Mhm.
being there in the paint just in case he can get an offensive board, just so he maintains his stamina. Because they're gonna really need him from the rest of the series.
Right. And to what I just said about Jokic and Embiid, I feel like on offense, Jokic and Embiid are really creating themselves and they have to work for what they're creating. Whereas most of Aiton's points, I'd say over 50%, are just wide open layups or dunks coming off of screens. And that does so much for a guy like Aiton, who's a young center in this league. And credit to Chris Paul for bringing him to a different level, really.
I'm sure 80% of his points come off an assist.
Oh, I'd say more, and that really shows that we're playing through a system here. We're not playing isolation basketball like they do in Atlanta or really probably half the teams in the league. We're playing what Monty Williams calls and what Chris Paul calls and what Devin Booker wants. So
Team basketball for sure.
for sure, it's fun to watch. Bridges and Cam Johnson, they've been outstanding this postseason, outstanding the whole year, really. Um, they're our most important role players, and they were not one and dones. You see everyone nowadays drafting one and dones. I mean, you guys drafted Kevin Knox a few years ago, and that hasn't turned out well at all.
No, not at all.
And we drafted similar players in Bridges and Cam Johnson who won national championships in college, who were there for at least 3 or 4 years, and it's really paying off. And I think the league should take notice of that, and to the point that you don't have to draft freshmen coming out of college that are 18 years old. It's fine to draft 20, 21-year-olds that have a few more years of experience because, as we see now, Bridges and Cam Johnson, you could insert them right into an NBA Finals game and they're good to go.
For sure. I think experience, I'd rather take a guy that's a junior and has worse stats than a freshman that has better stats because the freshmen they just don't have that experience and they don't know how to adjust yet. Yet the juniors they have more, they can probably adjust quicker to the NBA than any young guys.
Totally.
But it's that risk. Like, do you risk not going, like not drafting those young guys because they might be higher on the board?
Right, and that's the thing. I feel like, I mean, I keep bringing up Kevin Knox because I know he's on your team and he hasn't really performed that well. But it's like at the end of the day, Kevin Knox had better stats than Bridges, and Kevin Knox was about 2 or 3 years younger than Bridges. So at that point, you're really choosing: do you want the guy who's maybe more ready or the guy who has more raw talent? And I
And
think we made the right choice.
yeah, it worked out for the Suns at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. And then last thing I'll say about us, the other big three: Cam Johnson, who I mentioned, Bridges, who I mentioned, and Cameron Payne. Let's give it up for Cameron Payne. Has had a great playoffs, really. He played decent last game, but those three need to keep playing on both ends and combine for at least 30 every game. They combined for 34 last game with Bridges putting up 14. He was really the leader of those three because he's the one that starts. And I'm looking for them to have a big game this next game.
Unpopular opinion, but the games that I've mostly enjoyed for the Suns this year in the playoffs have been when Bridges has gone off. And
Yeah.
I just love those moments when he has those like those little streaks where he just has the hot hand and they catch heat, and then it's just like it's someone other than Paul and Booker contributing, and I love to see it.
Well, that's why, unlike many others, I feel like we're the best team in the league because you never know who can beat you on a single day. It could be Cam Johnson. It could be Payne, who makes 3 or 4 3-pointers a game. Bridges can play on both ends of the floor. Even Crowder can be a presence on defense. You never know who's going to beat you.
I will ask you because this has been a huge controversial question. Do you think if, this is in theory, do you think if we turned off injuries like we do in 2K,
Hmm.
do you think the Suns would still be in the finals?
So I've been hearing this a lot. I've been getting backlash about this. That no, you guys, no way with the healthy AD, you guys would have advanced. Well, by the way, Chris Paul was has had a bunch of injuries this postseason. So if you tell me you're going to turn off injuries and Chris Paul's all the way healthy, Saric is healthy, everyone's healthy, we take the Lakers in 6 or 7 still. I think because I think LeBron wasn't prepared for us. I'll say it. LeBron wasn't prepared and he was fatigued. I'll say we obviously beat the Nuggets. I mean, Jamal Murray's back in your case, but we beat him in 6 now instead of 4.
Mm-hmm. I
This
would
is
agree.
where it gets interesting with the Clippers. What do you think about the Clippers Suns?
I would agree. I think round one you'd beat the Lakers.
Which not everyone thinks. Everyone is really against me on that.
Well, I'm biased against the Lakers, but still, I think the Suns would take them.
Right.
I think, like you said, Jamal would take a couple games. They, of course, wouldn't get swept,
Yeah.
but I do think Suns would get that. But I'd say this: I think with a healthy Kawhi, the Clippers take you.
With a healthy Kawhi, it's tough to say because we haven't seen Kawhi play in a while. I think that series definitely goes 6 or 7 games. It's tough. It's so tough because the Clippers are deep as well. I think the Suns are a little bit deeper, but ah, it's tough to root against Kawhi because he's been there and he's done that before. So
Not just any Kawhi; it's playoff Kawhi.
playoff Kawhi, that's true. I'm not going to comment on that. I think that series goes 7, and I do not know who's going to win, but that series definitely goes 7, I
For
think.
sure.
Do you want to talk about now to real time? No hypotheticals. Do you want to talk about the Bucks and what they need to do for game 2?
Yeah. I think I'll go off what I've been saying is today. The biggest part of the Bucks team isn't even Giannis. It's his supporters, it's supporting cast. And we've already established the Suns have a better supporting cast. But I will say this: when Middleton and Drew Holiday they are having a good game, it's really hard to beat the Bucks. I think you would agree with me there.
Yeah, no, I do.
So, like you have listed down here, they both need to be exceptional in order for them to win the series, and that's just not debatable. Like,
Yeah, they can't be shooting 40% from the field goal
no,
from
they
field
need
goal.
to be shooting 50, 60% of course. They need to be combining for probably around 50 points. I'm be honest here. Because I think Giannis will get to 25 to 30. Yeah, it's 80 points right there. And it's, kind of like the Nets big three numbers, but it's what you need to do in order to beat the Suns team. We haven't seen a team being able to do that in a best of 7 series yet. So I
Yeah,
think, if Middleton and Drew are hot, it's hard to defend them as well as Giannis because that opens up so much space.
right. I do think the key for game 2, and obviously this is kind of weird because I'm the Suns fan, and I'm kind of game planning against the Suns in what I'm trying to say. But you got to get Aiden into foul trouble. You got to get Aiden uncomfortable because Aiden was very comfortable game one, and if he gets into foul trouble, you're left with Frank Kaminsky playing the five. And if you're the Bucks, you're licking your chops at that. So I do think that they need to attack Aiden when he's on the floor. Middleton and Drew have to be amazing, like you said. And two more things I'll say: Giannis needs to have a LeBron type series where he somehow trusts his teammates, he shoots well from the mid range, and last but not least, you agree with this. He cannot get into foul trouble. If he gets into foul
No.
trouble, this series is over
Giannis off the floor, it's a sweep for the Suns.
for sure.
And
Yeah.
well, I was just gonna say this real quick is that Giannis, if you look at it, if he wins the ring, which I really don't think is gonna happen, but if he does win this series, he has two MVPs in an NBA Finals on his belt already.
And does he have a few Defensive Player of the Years?
Of course, that too, and then he also has a possible NBA Finals MVP. Like he's also very young still.
Mhm.
Like people aren't talking about this, but do you think he could be in GOAT talk?
So let me tell you this. You can't be a GOAT if you can't shoot the basketball.
I agree, but if he was able to establish a jump shot and win a couple, like win like three more rings,
Yeah, I sure. I mean, he'd be like top seven, I think.
top seven. I don't know because everyone's talking about Luca, and I think Luca has the potential too.
I
But
think Giannis is going to be 10 times better than Luca. I'm not a Luca hater, but everyone knows that I'm not like the highest on Luca,
unlike me, I here
unlike you,
I have
of
my Luca
course.
jersey right to my right.
Exactly. So I do think Giannis has a better career than Luca when it's all said and done. But let me tell you this: if somehow, some way, I'm crying in my bed in like a week or two because the Suns lose this series
Mhm.
and Giannis just goes takeover mode. And obviously he has to win Finals MVP if they're going to win this series. That brings up the conversation is that well, first of all, he's the best player in the league at that point. Him and Kevin Durant will be tied for the best player in the league probably.
You think?
Yeah. If Giannis wins this series somehow, some way, I think he's tied for the best player in the league
Well,
easily.
what I find crazy is that I've seen top five players in the NBA now, like past few weeks, of course, and Giannis isn't anyone's top five. I'm like, this guy just won back-to-back MVPs before this year. So like, what?
Right. The reason they don't is because he's never been to the finals and now he has. And if he ends up pushing Milwaukee over the hump, there shouldn't be a conversation because what he's going to need to do for the next to win 4 games against the Phoenix Suns is going to be LeBron like. And we all agree that prior to this year, maybe last year as well, that LeBron was the best player in the league for what, 8, 9 years probably,
Probably,
easily. Even though we're not big LeBron fans, we can agree with that.
yeah.
And Giannis is going to have those like 35, 15, and like 7 ball games for them to win.
And
So
he's
yeah,
already proven he can do it. It's just a matter of
right. But I think
time.
Monty's too good of a coach to let that happen to us. I will say that.
Do you think I saw this really interesting article. I didn't read it all the way. I probably should. But this guy is speculating that if Giannis wins a ring, he'll stay a Buck as like probably a majority of his career.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
He'll sign I think he'll sign one more extension. Yeah, for sure. I agree.
I think that's an interesting thing, and I
I
think
think
he
he's
probably
gonna
would.
sign. Yeah. Last thing I'll say before we move on, because we've been on this series for a while now. Um, Bryn Forbes and Pat Connaughton, 40 combined minutes, 4 of 8 from the 3 point line. They have to be the X factors from the 3 point line because Giannis is obviously gonna draw attention down low, and they are going to have to hit 3 pointers for them to have a chance in this game. So here's my series overview prediction. I think the Suns take game 2 tonight by a closer margin. Booker is going to be guarded more tightly, leading the other big three, which I mentioned earlier, to have big games. Bucks take game 3 at home. Booker struggles away, and Middleton is better at home. So that's what I think there. Phoenix goes up 3-1, similar to the Clippers series where we take game 4. I think it turns into a blowout there. And game 5 in Phoenix, I think my Phoenix Suns finally win a championship in a 6 or 7 point game. CP3 gets the finals MVP.
That'd be awesome. And I think the only way this series goes far is if the Bucks win game two tonight.
Yeah, totally agree. Bucks need to win game two. Ryan and I both agree on that. If they don't win game two, this is a 4 or 5 game series. Moving on to the final, the Euro final. Here are the projected lineups, pretty much what we saw during the last game. Um, I, for at the first look at it, England is very young. Most of their guys are like 22, 23 years old. Italy's guys are more seasoned. There's a few younger guys on there like Chiesa and Barella, but Verratti and Jorginho have been around for a while. Both the center backs have been around for a while, and yeah, that's pretty much what I see. Do any players stand out on you for on the England side?
Well, I'm gonna be biased here, but I love Mason Mount, and I think he will score a goal here in the
Uh,
final. But
if he starts, we
no,
don't
I
know
know
yet.
everyone's saying he's not gonna start, and I think he won't either. But I'm just kidding. But my real standout player is probably Kane. It's a boring pick, but Kane's a stud, and he showed that in the World Cup a couple years ago, and he hasn't really showed it too much in this year's Euro. He hasn't been that X factor goal scorer like he was back in Russia. But if Kane can get a goal and be that presence like he usually has been for England, then I think England can take this one.
Right. I'm going to talk about this in next slide, I believe, but I think that England has a much deeper team than Italy, but I think Italy's starting lineup is much better and more experienced than England.
I think
Um,
experience, of course, goes to Italy. It's not even
right. Exactly. And Italy didn't even qualify for the World Cup last time because they had coaching issues and they had player issues and whatnot. But this Euros, I think Italy has been the best team. And a lot of people are saying England, but when you watch Italy, even though, they played tough teams, Spain was tough, Belgium was tough, but they've come through every time, whether they were on their back foot, whether they were underdogs coming into extra time or whatnot, but they have shown real resilience. So that's why you'll see here, I'm taking Italy. My first prediction is a draw after 90 minutes. Then England brings on Jack Grealish and Sancho or Rashford or whichever attacking guys that they want, and they look stronger, but Italy sends it or drags it rather to pens where they win. My other prediction is Italy pulls ahead late and makes it 1-0 where England cannot score. How do you feel this game's going?
I'm gonna go a complete opposite direction here. I think England will win it 2-1 in regulation. I think it's not gonna go to extra time. I think there's gonna be a tie after halftime at 1. And then I think just like how kind of similar to the semifinal match, England looks very strong in the second half, and then they'll win in around the 70th minute.
Right. I mean, I disagree with you. I think Italy's the best team in this tournament. I think Italy's the team to beat. They're the underdogs coming in this match, but I do think that Italy's going to take this one, and it will not come home this year. They will have to wait.
Is coming home.
I think they'll have to wait for it to come home, and
I do,
then
I do have a question for you quickly
yeah,
though.
go for it.
Out of these two teams, which one do you think will be most successful in the World Cup next year?
I think England because they'll lose. I think
Hmm.
England will lose this, and it'll put a lot of pressure on them, or not pressure, but I think England needs to win the World Cup. This would be a big deal. They need to win one of these, the Euro or the World Cup. And I think that going into the World Cup, that England, I think Italy's getting a little bit older as well. And it's hard to win Euros and World Cup. It's very tough to do. So
Do you think like I know you said it's very difficult, and I'm not sure if it's ever happened before, probably, but do you think there's any chance that the winner of this Euro final can win the World Cup?
I believe that Italy did it. I think Italy's done it before. However, I don't. I think obviously France won last time, and France will be the favorites coming in. But I think it's going to be between France and England for the World Cup because I can't really see another team contesting. Oh, Brazil.
I
I
was
think
about to say
Brazil can
Brazil.
contest. I think those are my three favorites: France, England, and Brazil.
This would never happen, but can you imagine a Argentina versus Portugal World Cup final?
Well, that would cause a war no matter who would win that game. That
Oh,
would be
even though Portugal's a far better team, it would be a crazy just
no
media.
doubt. So, but back to this game, that would be, I mean, We'll bring back this clip if that happens years from now.
Mm.
But the keys for England really, they need to be clinical. They got chances against Denmark in that game. They got a lot of chances, but they really couldn't finish. And Italy has a great defense, and they're going to need to take control of the outsides because Spinazzola, the best really wing back for Italy, went down with an ACL a few games ago against Belgium, and now their wing backs are not as good. So I think England will have to take control of the outside, which is why Sterling and Grealish need to get going for them. Um, and England's going to have the advantage off the bench, definitely, and that's where they have to focus on. If they have it tied up going into extra time, I think the England really has the advantage, but Italy's defense is great.
Yeah, Italy's defense, they're very experienced. That they definitely have the defense advantage.
Right. So these are my best bets of the next week. There's a lot of things here, so I'm only going to mention some of them. Suns are favored by 5 in game 2. I do like that line, maybe by a little bit. Um, I do think the series correct score to be Suns 4-0 or 4-1. You could look at that at plus 150. I think that's a really solid line for that. Going to the NFL, this is interesting. Cardinals over 8.5 wins. Do you take over or under there?
I'm sorry, but I'm taking the under.
Under. So you think we're not going into the playoffs, obviously.
I think you guys are going 8-9 just because of how difficult that division is. 'Cause I think you're the third best. I think the Seahawks are unbelievably the worst now. But
Yeah,
you know,
I put that there. Seahawks under 9.5 wins. You are you with me on the under there?
yeah, I'm with you on the under.
Okay, that sounds good. I mean, Wilson scares me because he may prove us wrong, but I'm on the under there because their defense isn't that good. Um, I will say Jamin Davis, the new linebacker, we mentioned him really our first episode when we were doing the NFL draft. He's for defensive rookie of the year, he's plus 900 with Washington's defense and Ryan Kerrigan now on the Eagles, I believe. Jamin Davis has the opportunity to be the number one linebacker there. And behind that front 4 or 5 that they have with Chase Young and Ioannidis and Montez Sweat and whoever they have, which is really good. I like him to win defensive rookie of the year this year. I don't mind that pick.
Yeah, that's probably one of your best defensive rookie of the year picks for sure.
Yeah, and then with that, I'll take Washington over 8.5 wins. And then at the bottom of the screen, you'll see NFC East top 2 teams: Redskins, Washington, and New York Giants. And I'll take both those to finish top 2 because I don't think the Cowboys or Eagles are going top 2. And
Eagles are for sure number 4. I don't think no chance they're any higher.
right,
Um, and then I think Cowboys and Giants fight for that second spot, and then Washington not runs away with it, but they're the clear favorite.
right. So I like those odds though, plus almost 700 for those 2 teams to finish top 2. I don't
The
mind
thing
that.
is, though, maybe you don't bet Washington because the NFC East has never seen a repeat champion since 2000 or
That's a
like
good point.
early 2000s.
That's a good point. So I looked today. The favorites are Cowboys. Washington's close second. Giants are far third. I think plus 500 ish on that to win the NFC East. So that's a shout. And then Carson Wentz comeback player of the year. Your thoughts on that? I know I'm high on the Colts this year.
I like the Colts, and I still have faith in Carson Wentz, so I'm going to agree with you. I'm not thinking of anyone that could win comeback player of the year. Of course, my boy Saquon Barkley, he
Or
could.
McCaffrey, Barkley, and Wentz. Those are my 3
Yeah,
picks.
of course, and even Dak Prescott.
Because the defense, or well, the defense has gotten a lot better in that division, but that division overall is not the best.
Well, Carson Wentz is now playing behind a good O line, and it can probably prove why he was an MVP candidate in 2017.
Exactly. No, you're 100% right. So I like that pick this year. Um, Moving on to the Euro picks, Italy money line is plus 200, so that's in regulation. So that's very interesting. Chiesa, who scored last game to have a goal in Italy to win, has very good odds. And then the method of victory, Italy in a shootout. You might want to sprinkle some money on that plus 900 because I think if this game goes to extra time and then Italy somehow holds on, I think Italy wins in a shootout because they're very
I
good at
think
penalties.
no way this game goes to a shootout.
I disagree. I think there's a very good chance it does.
I think it will be decided probably in regulation, but I think if it does go to extra time, there's no way it stays tied.
I think if this game goes to extra time, it goes to penalties. See,
Yeah,
I'm on that right now.
we are very different on this
I
Euro
think
prediction.
I think Italy controls the first 90 minutes. England controls extra time. Italy does not let them score in extra time. Goes to penalties. Italy wins in a shootout.
What I know, I'm not sure if we're not gonna talk about it today, but quick overview. What's your prediction for the Copa America final?
So I don't follow the Copa America as much as Euro, obviously because Euro is mostly on TV and Copa's
Of course.
not. But I do, as much as I want to say Messi wins, I do think Brazil wins 2-1.
I think Brazil wins 2-1, but Messi gets a goal.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to score. Messi will probably score, or Martinez, their striker. He's good.
Messi has been incredible this Copa America. He's
He's
basically
incredible
goal.
every Copa.
Yeah, he's like had a goal and assist on like nearly every scoring
Right.
score for Argentina.
So we both agree that Brazil wins by probably a goal or something of that
Or
sort.
two.
So two graphics I want to bring up before we close it out. This is CBS on the right, top receivers for next season. I look at this list and a few things pop out at me. The first one, DK Metcalf. I mean, what are you thinking?
He's
Um,
not number 4.
yeah, I first of all, Hopkins should be number 4, I think, for sure.
Agreed.
And then I'm fine with that top 4. I'm fine with Adams, Hill, Diggs, Hopkins in whatever order you like.
Yeah, I love AJ Brown, but he is not number 7.
I really like AJ Brown, but God, it's tough not to put Julio there.
It's true, but how do you put AJ Brown and DK over Terry McLaurin?
That's another good point. And I think Michael Thomas at 10, it's tough to see with the quarterback situation, but Thomas, his skill set is better than number 10, I think.
Plant boy, yeah.
Well, whatever you want to call it. And then Keenan
I
Allen,
think
number
you still
9.
put I still think you put Thomas over Keenan Allen.
I think you put Thomas at number 7, and then
Yeah.
you put Keenan Allen at number maybe 8 even. Jefferson, I said my take on Jefferson last time, but I think Terry McLaurin deserves to be in the top 10 conversation. Not top 5 yet, but I think definitely top 10. But that was just an interesting graphic that I saw this morning.
Very interesting.
And the last one, LeBron traded his young core. CP3 took his young core to the finals. Mic drop.
Wow, I love that.
Is that not 100% true, or is that 100%
It's
true?
completely true.
100% true. I mean, Brandon Ingram is a star. Brandon Ingram is outstanding.
Mhm.
They wouldn't have Anthony Davis, but I don't think LeBron was patient enough. And he
Well,
got his one ring, sure, but
he's old. He wants to get another ring or 2 before he retires.
but I don't think that team's a dynasty because it's AD, LeBron, and who else?
Dennis Schroeder. No, but
Yeah, no, and Schroeder's. I like Schroeder. Schroeder's good, but he just doesn't fit with that team because I think LeBron forced him to play like someone he wasn't, in my opinion.
yeah, I mean, I'd love CP3 to get a ring. It'd be great.
I think CP3 gets the ring. Suns Bucks tonight at 6 our time, 6 Pacific time. We will be tuning in. I hope you guys tune in as well. It's been a great episode, and we will see you guys soon. Next episode will be coming out soon. We should get a little bit more in the NFL as the season comes closer. And yeah, thanks for joining, guys. We'll see you next time.
Next time.